Hey, good morning, citizens. It's Dr. Bob Flower with your Tuesday, October 9th, Master Pattern Report. Well, the first thing I want to discuss this morning is this finding by Nanex, Nanex, which is a company which monitors trading schemes and patterns and algorithms and whatnot. And they've recently discovered, I think last week actually, a mysterious algorithm that accounted for 4% of the trades and up to 10% of the bandwidth on on the securities exchange on the New York Stock Exchange. Uh, there's a warning here that it doesn't necessarily have to be traders looking to gain a momentary advantage on a trade, because these guys are now, trading in in seconds instead of days or weeks, and that's gone out the window with these algorithms. But one person with an algorithm followed up by a second, it's obvious can ruin the market. I mean, if you recall, just several occurrences over the past 2 years about these big whales over in London that generated billions of dollars in losses. Um, these were single individuals, and I think it's time that people become aware of this, and as I see it, more and more private groups and smaller groups are pulling out of the market for fear of events of this nature. So this is a matter of warning and preparation. Um, keep your powder dry. Keep your silver and your gold nearby, and cash. I wouldn't be spending money unnecessarily right now unless it's on hard commodities. So, and this is another reason for it. Plus, the government is falling apart. There's no two ways about it. I mean, I don't, um, I don't like taking sides, but it's not even a matter of taking sides anymore. It's a matter of fact. And when the U.S. government tells Boeing, who was going to send out 1 million notices to their workforce, uh, well, not only Boeing but the defense industry, they're going to send out 1 million notices that they're going to be laid off January 1st if this fiscal cliff legislation isn't amended, and tells them don't do it, and we the government will pay for your legal fees since it is against the law. I think it's the Stewart law. Um, we will defend you. I mean, if that isn't a flagrant violation of the law, that's ridiculous. And who are they to be spending our money um, for their purposes? Only because the only reason they're doing this is politics. It's not for the welfare of the citizens or for the country. They're only saying that so that the unemployment picture doesn't look bleak. So I mean, and there's many other issues like this. Dick Morrison, his new book, talks about what we've been talking about, the United Nations um, treaty coming up, which only needs the president and the Senate to approve taxation measures um, for the United Nations against nations such as ours, and primarily the United States. So, in other words, we as citizens of the United States are going to be taxed not by the federal government, but by the treaties that they're generating with the United Nations and other so-called sovereign international bodies. This is the law of the sea. We're back to that, but as I understand it, it doesn't require the passage or acceptance by the House of Representatives, only the Senate and the President. So we're in for some thrilling times here. What's bothering me is that there are a lot of events going on uh, economically that are very, very negative. I told you about these banks that are there's a report of bankruptcies. Um, uh, what, for instance, in that particular instance, um, it's my understanding that this has already occurred, at least in one instance, and that they're just holding this off, keeping it at bay until after the election. So there's a lot of crap. There's a lot of very, very negative, bad stuff that's coming down insofar as regulations are concerned on all levels. And for instance, we had talked about this over what was it, over 1 million rounds of 40 caliber ammunition, and some of you had said, well, my brother-in-law has got ammunition, got loads of ammunition and whatnot, and it's normal. Well, what's unnormal, unnatural, and not normal about it is the agencies that are receiving this this ordinance are not typically recipients of. I mean, I could see Department of Defense or Homeland Security, Treasury Department, but it's going beyond that into other HEW, agriculture, Department of Commerce. I mean, come on, what are you kidding me? So that there's an expansion of potential controlling issues that are hard at work here, and it's almost like we're going to be shut down after this year, and that is scary as hell. And now the capital tax, like for instance, what they have in France, that they are now going to this year they're going to start after the first of the year, going to start taxing capital. You got money in the bank, you've already paid tax, it's there, you're going to be taxed on it. I mean, this is absurd. This is insane, not absurd. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening now that we're not getting the full picture of. And I mean, what's the genius here with investing? I mean, God Almighty, you got to go with the commodities. Especially your metals, all of them. To create a little package for yourself, get in there, and if you have to take possession of them, if they go down below where you bought them, take possession of the damn things. I mean, if you can. This is I can tell you that there are people a lot bigger and more powerful than I that are betting on $2,000 gold by the end of the year and $50 silver, and our charts certainly are looking that way. And speaking of that, we're going to see a run up in both of those within the next week, 10 days, to higher levels than where they are right now. I think you may see gold up around 1880, 1890, and silver up around $40 within the next 2 weeks. I think it is. The pattern was showing. And that's pretty much where we're staying. We had that investment in Halliburton, and that's been quiet, but that's a little longer term as we still have our Wendy's, and we think that these things hopefully will move a little bit more before everything kind of collapses. So let's see how that rates. But I think what you should do is look at these reports and forget about whether it's Democrat or Republican or liberal or conservative. Look at them from both sides as to the changes that are proposed and coming, after this election, and then ask yourself, make yourself an intelligent decision as to whether or not this is what you want, what you think is the right direction. And with the polls now all of a sudden moving adversely against, I don't want to say Obama, I want to say socialism, because I mean that's exactly what we're at. If you're one of those people that believe that a level playing field means that you get to take money from successful people and give it to unsuccessful people, then you're certainly an Obama person. It certainly isn't the way this country was built. I mean, you tried that any time during the first 150 years, you get a bullet in your ass. And it may come to that. I mean, look what's happening in Greece. Greece is happening because those people are so goddamn lazy and inept that and living off of a bad story. That is, the government's going to take care of me, and I don't have to do anything, and I can retire at 55, 57, 60 years old, and not necessarily put that much money into the system. Well, if that's the case, that's fine, but it doesn't work. And the way you see that happening there with the poor people, you may see it happening with the middle class and the upper and richer people revolting, which is the schism that that this campaign has brought us to. Instead of bringing us together, which is one of my main objections to President Obama, is he said he was going to unite us, and he's done more to separate us than anybody. I mean, that's a lie. That's a fabrication. That's not, and it's not working. So, I mean, here's the major thing that I'm beginning to hear with the Romney campaign, which is something that I've been saying here. You've got 4 top-notch Republican governors that have been elected within the past year, 2 years, in states that were not doing well: Florida, Wisconsin, Ohio, and New Jersey. Okay? And every one of them has turned around that state for the better, all right, for the positive. Now, the game plans that those 4 governors have put in place are the same plans that Romney has, with some variations, but not a lot, in principle, in any event. Those are the same plans that Romney and Ryan are trying to put in place, that they want to put in place. Now, you can't argue with it because it works. And it didn't work in 1 or 2 states. It's worked in at least 4 states. You want to count Texas? Texas wasn't that big of a problem, but they have the same form, right? So there's 5, and there's maybe 2 or 3 others that have had the same situation with new thinking, with new, innovative, creative, down hardcore economics. Okay, so I'm kind of positive about that. Doesn't mean that we're going to be out of the woods. Doesn't mean we're going to solve the unemployment problem. But if we move towards using ingenuity and responsibility, everybody taking responsibility, we're going to have a better economy, and people trying to help themselves and prevail on, instead of looking at things negatively, prevail on them as being a challenge. Okay? And when you look at things as being a challenge, it takes on a whole new dimension. Right? All right, I've said enough. We're staying with our game plan. We are buying some real estate, income producing type real estate at favorable prices in good markets. We are buying our gold and silver and commodities. So stick with the game plan. Keep aware. Pass the word on to those of you who have a commitment towards the principles of this country, and your others, well, take a history lesson. See you next week.